Is Gen Z going gray faster than millennials, or is it just another generational conspiracy? Stick around because I'm about to uncover the secret behind this silver mystery. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Style Theory, the show that never ages. I'm stuck like this forever. But you know who's not getting any younger? Gen Z. Yes, the Zoomers are once again making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Why are Gen Z going gray so young?
The evolution of granny hair. Why Gen Z is going gray.
Gen Z is already going gray. Health experts sound alarm.
Okay, we get it. Gen Z is looking old again. But we already proved that was wrong. So isn't this the same thing? Wait, what? It's not just Gen Z this time? It's millennials too? Oh my god. Theorists, this isn't just a rumor, it's a race. A once-in-a-generation kind of race. Not to get the gold, but to grow the silver. Silver hair, that is. And by the end of today's episode, one generation will go full gray and be crowned the ultimate silver fox. Yes, this time going gray is not a bad thing. In fact, it makes you a winner. So let's not wait around any longer because we have two generations lined up and ready to race. They will be battling head-to-head in 3 rounds to see who can win the going gray gauntlet. On your marks, get set. Gray! When you hear someone say,
"This is making me go gray,"
what does that make you think of? If you said stress, then you'd be right. And also, I'm sorry you're so stressed, friend, that it's that forefront of your mind. I really hope that you're doing okay. Stress does a lot to our bodies. It can increase your heart rate, blood pressure, blood sugar, weaken your immune system, and mess up your sleep schedule. But can it really make you go gray? To understand that, we have to get to the root of how hair gets its color in the first place. Hair color comes from specialized cells called melanocytes that sit at the roots of your hair. Melanocytes are made via stem cells, which are pretty much one of the most powerful things in your body. Yeah, where the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, stem cells are basically the Legos that build everything else. They have the ability to turn into almost any other kind of cell, and they act as bandages when things start to break down. But as you get older, your stem cells die off, which means less stem cells around to make melanocytes. Less melanocytes means less pigment, and all of that leads to your hair losing its color and looking gray. But where does stress fit into this whole thing? Well, scientists found that the stress-causing gray hairs effect was primarily caused by a specific response your body has to getting stressed the F out. You know what really stresses me out? All of the damage that I do to my hair every single time that I style it. Yeah, these straight, shiny locks you see every week don't really start that way. I'm guilty of torturing my fragile hair with way more heat than is probably good for it. Which is why when Fanttik reached out offering to partner with us for this episode and let me test their better for you hair tools, I had to say yes. My hair needs the help. Their Fanttik solo line is designed to celebrate and work with your unique hair profile, from type 1A to type 4C, and they make it look cute. Yes, I know, aesthetics is not the most important thing when it comes to your styling tools, but hey, if my hairdryer can make me feel like I'm doing my hair on the Enterprise thanks to its sleek design and smart LED display, well, live long and prosper me because I am going to get my Vulcan on. It easily lets you see what temperature and mode that you're using. With my old hairdryer, I would constantly be hitting the controls without realizing it, which has led to more than one day of looking extra fried. But with the Fanttik Solo H10, I'm always in control of what's happening on my head. And speaking of all that's going on top of my head, I've had quite a few people reach out to ask how I take my hair from its natural curly state to the straight hair that you see on my cutout and in videos. Well, the answer is a drying brush. And Fantik's multi-styler tool has one that not only gives me volume, but fights the dreaded frizz. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can watch it happen in real time. Fanttik uses a specialty aqua-glow technology that emits over 200 million negative ions. And that's a big deal because positive ions are found in static electricity, something that can be annoyingly present during heat styling. By putting out negative ions, the tool is fighting a war to protect your hair and keep it feeling smooth and luscious. And with 4 heat options and 3 wind speeds, whatever you need, it can do. Just look at the results. They speak for themselves. And theorists, I'm gonna to let you in on a huge secret. Fanttik is having its big spring sale, and they are giving you style theorists a special code that goes on top of their already discounted prices. Yes, really. By going to Amazon.com and using our codes, you will be getting an insane deal. All you have to do is go to Amazon.com, claim their $10 coupon that they already offer, and then enter my code STYLE THEO30 at checkout to receive a 30% off the H10 Apex hairdryer. Or if you want their multi-styler, you can use their $27 coupon already on Amazon and use my code STYLE STHEO31 for an extra 31% off. And if you want to make all of that really simple, just click the link in the description and copy paste our codes at checkout. Thanks again to Fanttik for sponsoring this episode. Now back to our race. When your body gets stressed, it goes into fight or flight mode. This is when the brain reacts to an outside stimulus, say a big upcoming test or the threat of bodily harm. It does this by activating your sympathetic nervous system. We actually talked all about this process in our other video testing anti-stress clothing, so go to that if you want a full breakdown. The TLDR version for this episode is that it triggers your body to release noradrenaline, which is the pregame to actual adrenaline. And here's the thing, noradrenaline is bad news for your stem cells. When released, it can cause the stem cells at the roots of your hair to scatter like a glass jar of beads sent down a set of stairs. Oh my god, that is so satisfying. What? Oh, wait, sorry. Where was I? Oh yeah, you'll remember that without those stem cells, your body stops producing melanocytes, leading to, yes, you guessed it, gray hair. So let's check in with our battling generations. Which one is more stressed, Gen Z or Millennials? If you saw the Why Gen Z Looks Old video, you'll know that when it comes to ranking stress, Zoomers have zoomed to the top of the leaderboard. While both generations have had to deal with inflation, social media, and I don't know, the pandemic, just to name a few, Gen Z has shouldered that stress more than most. And to those of you who say,
oh, these Zoomers don't know how good they have it. I had to walk uphill in the snow on my hands every day.
Okay, Grandma, let's just get you back home. While that may be true in some cases, it's still very clear that Gen Z is feeling the most right now. They are the one current generation able to be aware and upset about current affairs while still being stuck under the rule of previous generations, including millennials. Yes, even if you don't want to admit it, sometimes millennials are the problem too. But it's okay, no one's perfect. That increased stress level will mean that they release more noradrenaline, which would lead potentially to going gray faster. And that means that after the first leg of our going gray gauntlet, Gen Z has already taken the lead from Team Millennials. On to round 2. While stress may be the go-to thing that we blame for a little silver showing up on our scalps, there's another thing that may hit even harder: your diet. Yeah, what's in your fridge can have a direct effect to what's going on top of your head, which is a little concerning given that our resident food guy is the grayest of all in Theoryland. So let's do him a solid and do his job for him. Vitamins like B6 and B12 have proven to boost production of melanin, aka the pigment that gives your hair its natural color. In fact, B12 deficiency, which is where you don't have enough in your system, has been shown to be a major cause of premature graying. A study published on PubMed Central found that around 55% of people with a vitamin B12 deficiency started to go gray before the age of 50. That's compared to the only 30% of those without that deficiency. So if you're concerned that going gray might be in your immediate future, you could consider reaching for more foods that are high in B12, like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, which works for a lot of people, unless you're me, or the other 14% of Gen Z and millennials that identify as either vegetarian or vegan. You know, the people who can't eat any of that. Which means to get enough B12, some of us are going to have to get a little creative. Cereals, soy milk, seaweed, and even mushrooms are all great alternatives. But if you still need to supplement that B12, reach for, well, a supplement. But hey, before you start panicking and buying out all the B12 at your local drugstore and changing your whole diet just to maybe fight off a few extra gray hairs, just sit for a minute. While yes, B12 can play into your hair's colorful or colorless future, it's important to note that only about 3% of people aged 20 to 39 actually have a B12 deficiency. Yeah, for as much as millennials and Gen Z diets have taken a nosedive in recent years for a a number of reasons, we're still doing pretty okay, at least where B12's concerned. So for both of our generations, the chances are that most of you are probably getting enough B12 to keep your hair looking its best. And for those of you outside that age bracket, ask your doctor. Just know that if you are on the older side of that age bracket, well, it's not really premature anymore, is it? However, when it comes to our diet round, it's not all about that B12. Another mineral to watch out for? Copper. Your body uses copper as basically a battery for other enzymes in your body, including one that's essential for your body to produce melanin, aka that pigment. So, like those stem cells we were talking about earlier, without enough copper, you're not producing the melanin you need to keep your hair from going gray. Thankfully, unlike B12, we veggie folk have an easier time getting our daily recommended amount of copper. No! Hey! Stop that! Stop it! Do not eat pennies to try to get your copper. Give me that!
They're mine.
Stay.
Get away.
No, listen. 1, pennies only have around 2.5% of copper these days, and 2, say it with me, pennies are not food. Now go back to your own channel. The things I deal with, I swear. If you're actually looking to get your copper on, instead of doing something nutty like, I don't know, eating dirty pennies, actually eat some nuts.
These nuts?
No. Do not even try me. Nuts are a great source of copper, as are seeds, dark leafy greens, legumes, and even cocoa powder. Yes, if you are looking for a sign in the clouds to eat more chocolate, this is it. Though, like with B12, before you start thinking that chocolate is the secret to colorful hair, copper deficiency is also pretty rare. This means that in terms of our race, both teams get to move forward this round, leaving Gen Z still that little bit ahead of the game. But don't worry, millennials, there is one more round to go. Now, maybe you've gotten to this point in the episode and you're thinking, Amy, I have no stress. I have the perfect diet. Well, good for you. However, there is one thing that even you of the perfect willpower and Zen mentality cannot outrun, and that is your genetics. In fact, multiple studies have shown that about 90% of that age to gray hair pipeline comes down to your genetics, which makes it the perfect final round for our going gray gauntlet. Will millennials be able to tie it up, or will Gen Z run away with the win? Let's find out. Now, human genetics is complicated to say the least. Depending on how you count, and yes, there are different ways, humans have between 20 and 40,000 genes. And despite years and years and years of research, scientists still don't really know what every single one of them does, or how they all interact and interfere with each other. Yeah, it turns out that we humans are a mystery wrapped in an enigma and snuggled up in an ARG, even to ourselves. Which makes it really difficult to look at our genes, pinpoint one, and definitively say that that is causing premature gray hair. However, there have been some genes that scientists have started to dig into that appear to be connected to that early silver fox look. The big one is called interferon regulatory factor 4, or IRF4, which sounds like something from Call of Duty or Modern Warfare or something, but no, it's just you and your genes. As I'm sure you remember from your high school science class, when you're born, you get 2 copies of every single one of your genes, one from each of your biological parents. These genes come in various different forms called alleles. For example, when it comes to something like, say, your eye color, there is one allele that causes green eyes, and there is a different allele that causes brown. IRF4 has 2 specific alleles, called T and C. If, when you're born, one of your parents gives you a copy of the T allele, then you are more likely to get premature hair graying disease, or PHG, which, no, is not something that I made up. That is the actual term for the disease of getting gray hair early. Science is wild, y'all. What's next? Maple syrup urine disease? Wait, no, that's a real thing? Oh my gosh, I'm so smart. Also, moving on, the real question of the hour is, how does this affect our going gray gauntlet? Well, unfortunately, there hasn't been much research to see whether Gen Z or millennials are more or less likely to have the T allele. That being said, there is one aspect of genetics that scientists have identified to going gray, and that is your ancestry. It's been found that, on average, people of European descent are much more likely to have the dreaded T allele, and thus go gray early. Yes, sorry my fellow white people, we get old fast. In Ireland, roughly 40% of the population have the T allele, which proves something that I've always suspected. Lucky the leprechaun definitely dyes his hair. See, Santi? I am still doing your job for you. Where's my Lucky Charms lore video? But the wildest thing though is that in other parts of the world, the T allele was almost completely absent. I know, it's crazy. Now, with such a strong genetic link to going gray at a young age, I know that a lot of you theorists are probably already opening up another tab to start your 23andMe deep dive, just to find out if you may be next. But wait a second, because we need to get back to our race. You see, when it comes down to it, there isn't one generation that's more likely to be of a specific advantage or disadvantage in this category. Each generation is becoming more and more diverse, meaning that even those statistics we talked about earlier could change in the next few years. Which I guess means that Gen Z wins! Woo! Except all this talk of genetics got me thinking about procreation, offspring, babies, and not in a baby fever way either, but just in how many people just exist now. Our brains gravitate towards the information that is easily available, regardless of whether or not it's true. This is known as the availability bias. When presented with a lot of easily accessible information, we tend to believe it. And oh boy, when it comes to Gen Z, is that information available? Not only are Gen Z highly visible as the first generation to grow up completely online, they like to use that online access to post about their lives. Specifically, milestones like going gray. And when you're scrolling TikTok and seeing Zoomer after Zoomer after Zoomer showing off their shiny new grays, it really does make you think, wow, Gen Z really are going gray early. I mean, it's what led to us making this episode in the first place. But there's one thing wrong with this observation. It's overpowered. And I don't mean in a Super Saiyan kind of way. I mean that our sample size is just too large. Gen Z is the largest generation to have ever existed based on our current recorded history. There are just a lot of them, and it creates this illusion that the majority of Gen Z is going gray early. In fact, it's about the same comparatively as other generations when you equalize the numbers. And that's not all. I hate to break it to you theorists, but Gen Z isn't exactly as young as they once were. Gen Z is now between the ages of 13 and 28. The cutoff for premature graying is in your mid to late 20s. And once you hit your 30s, it's considered pretty normal. So as much as it pains me to tell you this, theorists, for Gen Z, many of them have passed that premature marker. And for a lot of them, the big 3-0 is just around the corner. Yep, they are in the prime time slot where the right genetics mixed with the wrong diet and all of that stress means that those silver strands are ready to surf their way onto Gen Z's head anytime now. So while technically Gen Z has won the title of the ultimate silver foxes, we all just need to accept the truth. Gen Z aren't little baby Zoomers anymore. They are well on their way to becoming fully fleshed adults. And if this whole episode has just made you feel old, well, join the club. But hey, that's just a theory. A style theory. Keep looking sharp. Next time on Style Theory.
Who has better taste in pants, Millennials or Gen Z? Hello Internet, welcome to Style Theory, where today we're finding out because I am not wearing pants and we're gonna solve that at the mall.